When I was first diagnosed with ADHD, I read into it because that's what I do. I like to own any health issues or other things that I have. Yep, hyper focusing on things. And one thing that kept coming up time and time again was this masking. And I really didn't understand what it meant. So, of course, hyper focus, I had to do a deep dive into it. And to start with, I didn't feel that I was masking until I read more about it. And I thought, well, if this is something that is prevalent across ADHD, then maybe you don't understand it so much either. So let's talk about masking today. If you're new here, hi, I'm Lorna, and you're listening or watching Accidentally Awesome with ADHD. If this isn't your first time here, then hi, welcome back. I'm really pleased to see you. So masking is in a situation is when you're not showing your true self. You're hiding it. You're camouflaging either behaviour or feelings to fit in with that situation. It's a type of camouflage. It's a type of social acceptance. And while we all do it from time to time, neurotypical and neurodivergent people, it's far more prevalent with us neurodivergent people, and it can cause issues, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to bring it up. So yeah, it can be a difficult concept to understand, and it was one that I have struggled with. But I found that looking at ways that we do mask was far more informative to me. It actually gave me ideas of when I was doing it, because, I was only diagnosed this year. And I've had nearly 50 years of masking. And if you have been diagnosed as an adult, then you have had many, many years of doing this, of hiding who you really are, because you've either been told it's inappropriate or realised yourself that you need to do something different to fit in with everyone else. And when you think of it like that, it's really quite sad that we have to hide ourselves in this way. But this is what we have felt that we've needed to do. So as usual, when I have a long list of things to talk about, I've printed this off. So I'm just going to read some of the ways that we do mask ourselves. We can stay too quiet when we're in conversations. I know we sort of talk about the overshare of ADHD, but it can be the other way too. If we've become aware that we are oversharing things or talking too much or interrupting, we then start to hold ourselves back in conversation. So we avoid interrupting, we avoid talking too much. We talk about ADHD people losing things all the time, but there is a flip side to that. And that can be obsessively checking for your belongings. So I have to say, I do this. I don't tend to lose things because I have learned to put things where I know they are. But if I'm out, I double check everything. And I do it a lot. If you're in a class, you may react how you are expected to, instead of allowing yourself to do your stimming behaviour or getting up and walking about as you need to, because you know that that isn't appropriate. We all do this whole, somebody asks how we are and we'll be like, yeah, fine. That's masking. And fair enough, we don't always want to go in to talk about how we are feeling if we're a bit down or struggling a little bit. But if you're doing that over and over again, especially with people that are close to you, then that's an issue. You should be able to tell people that things aren't right, whether it's maintaining your house or maintaining friendships. If things aren't fine, then we shouldn't be having to say that. I am not a tidy person. A lot of ADHDers aren't. But a lot of people with ADHD mask that by being perfectionists in their home, being overly tidy in their home. And while that's lovely, that can lead to a massive amount of stress trying to maintain that level of tidiness because you're worried about what other people would think of you. So that is masking in your home, hiding your hyperactivity. You see me here and I move a lot, or if you're listening to the podcast, you don't see it, but I am constantly fidgeting with things. And I tend to have my little toys that I use while I'm doing this to keep me focused. But if you are having trouble focusing because your mind needs to be jumping about to things, fidgeting helps. So that is a way of hiding it. We talk about time blindness with ADHD. Now, that could be you being constantly late to things, not being aware of how long things take. And it can be masked by being ridiculously early. You know, I do this, and I also stress out before appointments. If I know I have something coming up, like even just picking my kids up from school, I start checking the time from about 2 o'clock onwards to make sure I'm not late. And that is a way of masking our time blindness. I've learned to do it, but yes, sometimes we focus too hard on what people are saying instead of because we know we zone out. Instead of just listening as much as we can and apologising or saying, look, I'm sorry, I missed what you said there. We are so determined to listen to what people are saying, and that can come across a bit weird. Excessively writing things down. I'm definitely one for that. I write down all my thoughts when they're going through my head because I'm worried that something's going to escape from me. Bottling up your intense emotions because you don't feel you can talk about them. That is masking, and you really should be able to talk to family, friends, doctors, etc. about that. Taking on too much responsibility to try and make up for what you feel are your, not faults, that's a terrible word to use, but if you feel that you need to do more than, just to keep up with everybody else, then you might take on too much responsibility. That's a way of masking that you're not coping with things. Being a perfectionist, that's masking. Hiding that you're overwhelmed, suppressing your stimming behaviour. These are all ways of masking your natural tendencies, your natural desire to be who you are. And as I said, I think a lot of us with ADHD who have been diagnosed as adults do masses of these. And we do it because we've learned that's what we need to do to fit in. That's what's expected of us. Perhaps it's been drummed into us at school or by family. Don't do this, don't do that. You're talking too much, sit down, blah, blah, blah. And eventually that does sink in, I suppose. We learn it, we accept it, that this is not a great way for us to behave. But for somebody who has ADHD, it's a very normal way for us to behave. And because we're not allowing that to come out, we're bottling it up. That can actually lead to some serious problems for us. The masking all day is exhausting. So not only are you trying to do the thing that you're doing, so if you are a student and you're trying to take in what your teacher's telling you, what your lecturer's telling you, but also stop your leg from shaking and not interrupting, that is exhausting compared to somebody who's neurotypical and doesn't need to do that. You can actually end up being misdiagnosed or undiagnosed with ADHD because it's so suppressed. And I really do think that's what happened to me. I've been seeing therapists for years, a long, long time, but because I am high functioning, in other words, I pretty much masked everything because it had been drummed out of me. It's taken till now to get diagnosed. And I was even told by my therapist that she didn't think I had ADHD, probably because I wasn't sharing half of what I should have been sharing with her. That's on me. But I had no idea that I had ADHD because it had been drummed out of me. It can also lead to people not being aware that you are struggling, or when you do come out and say, look, I'm having a hard time keeping the house tidy, or I'm having a hard time with whatever, they're less likely to believe you because you have been hiding it for so long. It's like, but you've managed that for years. How can you not manage now? I certainly felt this after having the kids. Because I had two more people to look after, two little vulnerable children that I needed to look after, basically a lot of my masks fell away. And it was hard, but it's also a good thing in a way, I guess, because it led to me getting diagnosed. People who mask can be at a higher risk of substance abuse because they don't know what is wrong with them, or they spend so much time suppressing things that they need whatever it is as a coping mechanism. So they come home and they'll have a drink, or they'll take drugs, or they'll overeat, or over exercise, or whatever it is, as a way to deal with the fact that they are hiding all of this stuff. It can make what should be an external stress an internal stress, because you've been hiding it again. You're hiding it for years, and people don't understand how hard it can be. You're not able to be yourself, and that is a terrible, terrible thing to feel like. So if you think you might have ADHD, I definitely think that masking is an area that you should look into. You should try and find out more about what masking can be. There's heaps of information on websites out there, and perhaps sit and take some time and look through those lists and see if any of them are, ringing a bell with you, making you sort of go, oh, hang on, I do that. Because I think it's important to understand how it could be impacting you. I mean, yes, sometimes masking it's not a bad thing. It can let us get by in certain situations, and that can be good for us. We feel like we fit in. But if it has got to the point where we feel like we're no longer fitting in, that we have got all of this emotion inside of us that's not able to come out because you're worried about telling people about it, then that is not a good situation to be in. Now, obviously, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a health practitioner, and I really would encourage you to talk to your GP or therapist or whoever you speak to about these matters if you feel that this is something that is getting on top of you, or something that you've just realised that you're doing, because this could be a way to lead to an ADHD diagnosis for you. Especially in women, I think, we really do fly under that ADHD radar. So being able to understand how we present ourselves to the world is super important. So I hope that this has been of benefit to you. I will put some links either in the show notes or down below in the description, and you can have a look into this yourself. As usual, I would love to hear from you. Pop something in the comments, let me know if this has made some sort of impact on you, because I'm here to try and empower you, educate you, help you as I'm helping myself. So this is Accidentally Awesome with ADHD, and I will speak to you again soon. Bye, friends.